Welcome. I will call this meeting of the Jericho Development Review Board to order. First, I'll go over the agenda and then talk about some rules and the interested party status. So the agenda we have tonight we'll swear everybody in. We'll have a new business, which is a request to the DRB by Benjamin Randall for a 3-lot subdivision. This property is located at 39 Orr Road in the low-density residential zoning district. And then we had talked about approving minutes from February 14th. We're not going to do that tonight. So we just have the one item of new business. These proceedings will be conducted in an orderly manner, consistent with the DRB's rules and procedures. Copies of the rules and procedures are available. We will walk you through the process. You don't need a copy to participate. First item is to ask for any disclosure of any conflict of interest or ex parte communication from board members on this item of it. No. Okay. Thank you very much. Then I'm going to read the information on interested parties. Interested parties are those who under Vermont law have the right to appeal an act or decision of the Jericho Zoning Administration, the DRB. These include the applicant, or if the applicant does not own the property, the person owning title to the property. Any person owning or occupying property in the immediate neighborhood of the property that is the subject of any zoning decision or act who can demonstrate a physical or environmental impact on the person's interest under the criteria review, or who alleges that the decision or act, if confirmed, will violate the municipal plan or bylaw. And then any 10 persons, either voters or landowners, who by signed petition to the DRB allege that the decision or act, if confirmed, will violate the municipal plan or bylaw. The petitioners must designate one person to serve as a representative. Though many members of the public may be interested in a zoning permit application, only statutorily defined interested persons may appeal a decision of the zoning officer or DRB. If an interested person fails to make a timely appeal, they are bound by that decision or act. Only those interested persons who have participated in a DRB proceeding may appeal. And that's why we actually sign in so that we know who is here in order to set up that designation of a qualified interested person. But thank you all for signing in. So
you do have one member of the public
okay,
online, so they may want to let them know to
okay,
put their stuff in chat.
So if you're online, if you could please send your contact information either into the chat or by email to the zoning administrator, Chris here. And when you speak in the hearing, please tell us your name loud and clear so we can record it in the meeting minutes. This is a quasi judicial hearing, so those who intend to speak must be sworn in. I will read the oath, and those here please say I do. Those participating remotely are assumed to be sworn in. I'm going to say the oath now. I hereby swear that the evidence I give in the cause of consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalty of perjury.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll now start the first item for the 3-lot subdivision. And who will be speaking for that?
I will. Jason Barnard and Jarvis. We are the designers and surveyors working for Mr. Randall at the subdivision at his property at 39 Hill Road. I think everybody can hear me here with the phone. The S1 drawing is up on the screen right now. Proposed this was a 10.13 acre lot, the parent parcel. After the subdivision, Mr. Randall will be creating a lot number 2, which will be 3.06 acres in size and is in the middle portion of the property, right where the cursor is. Lot number 3, 3.62 acres, I think. 3.62. Each will be improved with a single family residence, 3-bedroom single family residence. We have done our soil testing out there. The water and wastewater permit has been issued for the project. The wetlands have been delineated. There is a 50-foot wetland buffer We've actually, our wetlands consultant has submitted the wetlands application to the wetlands office that was logged in a couple of weeks ago, is administratively complete and is under review. The wetland staff has actually visited the site and they concur with the delineation, so there's not any expectation that it should be an issue here with regards to the wetlands permitting. I think if Chris can pull the map over to the left side, our wetlands impact table sort of shows you 30 square feet of wetland impact and 970 square feet of buffer impact. With a project of this size and nature, that's really pretty minimal. That is mostly stemmed from widening of the existing driveway, which current width is around 10 to 11 feet, I would say, on average. We are looking to go to the 14-foot, and I believe if Chris can scroll over, we're 12-foot wide with a foot shoulders, with 2-foot shoulders, excuse me. So the total width of that portion would be 16 feet wide. We've shown where the new drives are in yellow. The wetland impacts are hatched out. And the drawings also show the location of the mound systems, relatively decent soil, high water table, based on where we are in relationship to the wetlands, but all fits in nice, small building envelopes, tucked away. It is wooded. There is some clearing proposed. We do have wetlands on both the west side and east side. And we also have the riparian buffer, which was located and shot in by our survey crew. And that's the thicker orange line that we do have a 100-foot isolation distance to that as well. One thing that Chris did mention here when we arrived, he didn't see the deeds and covenants and road maintenance agreement, but I believe those were sent over. And if not, we do have those in our possession. The draft deeds, our admin was going to email them to Chris, and we will definitely get those on to him. So a replacement area has been designated for the existing house. The parcel subdivision lines are shown in red, and the exterior perimeter lines are shown in black. Everything's there. There's a lot of lines because it's a small condensed area that is suitable for development. But it all fits in nice. You're able to utilize an existing drive. There's no new road cuts. One small shared drive for the houses. And what's nice is the impervious area stays below the half-acre threshold. So we don't fall within the stormwater jurisdiction. Great spot for a nice little couple single-family homes. And we've done our homework with regards to natural resource protection.
Just so the board can see, this is a water course. That's a wetland. That's a wetland buffer. That's the riparian buffer. These purple dotted lines, those are building envelopes, which basically, that restricts the nature of where they can build. You can see here's another wetland area.
Yep.
So there's the wetland buffer. So all improvements and disturbance, they're all essentially kind of like in a highlands area above the area. So there is minimal. I believe when you say crosshatch, that's this area here is an affected wetland area.
That's where the actual wetland impacts and buffer impacts are occurring, where the road is widened.
Yeah. So that sort of gives you a visual on what he gave you a verbal on.
So the wastewater permit has been issued. The one thing that I didn't touch on was the existing or the proposed well that will serve lots 2 and 3 will be a shared well. There wasn't enough room to get in 2 mound systems and 2 wells on this property, so there will be a shared.
So obviously,
Where do we see the shield area around the well?
Yep, there's the blue shield, which is around the proposed well, and there's also a blue shield around the existing well that serves Ben's current residence.
so there's that area.
And there's a 100-foot separation between the 2 wells.
And lot 2 will give an easement to lot 3 for access to the well.
Correct. There'll be an easement, and then the water line will actually run along the right of way that is shared to where it enters on the lot.
The maintenance payment for the well is included in the document.
That's correct.
How is the, wetland buffer going to be demarcated?
So if you look at the orange dots that are proposed on what would be the westerly side of the road, that either be birdhouses, small boulders, kind of leave a little bit of creativity up to the landowners, but I mean, usually we can do it with fence posts, wood stakes, boulders, birdhouses. There's a number of different ways. So we do have the demarcation points
Right there.
on the drawing. We just would, I don't necessarily want to pick out birdhouses for the folks that are living in it.
So you're gonna get a wetland permit, so Keenan and Heath will have a say in marking that buffer.
She will.
permanently, Which is good,
Yep,
because these are extremely small buildings.
they are.
Doable,
It's doable.
but there's
Yep.
no room for error.
And that's what,
Especially the back.
Correct.
Zero room.
and it's always a recommendation that when construction starts, that I send our survey guys out to do all of the layout.
Yeah,
So we-
if you're doing birdhouses, whatever, and
Yeah.
then the silt fence part of any construction.
Exactly.
Construction fence, yeah.
So, yeah, Justin is correct. When we were putting this, puzzle together, it does take a lot to get to that point where we could make it all fit. And then the last thing we kind of came up with was the conclusion of the well. We had one spot left for that and it had to be shared.
So whoever's gonna develop, I mean, are these just gonna be sold individually, or is the developer gonna buy both, or no plan yet?
Well,
Cause somebody's gotta drill the well,
Yeah.
2 houses, and then somebody's gotta build a shared road section, and then he's gotta give everybody the riot act that if you screw up, I'm walking away.
yeah,
And,
Yeah.
So, yeah, my plan would be if
Wish I could do that.
somebody does, if somebody does want to buy both, you know, they would obviously take on the drilling of the well. If I sold only one of them, you know, I'm still undecided if I want to build on one of them and or what. But I would basically step in and help pay half of the well cost and then just add that to whatever I sold the
the
lot.
first one is gonna pay for the power to the well pump,
yeah.
so, yeah, I get, did he need a curb cut approval?
No, it's an existing curb.
Existing driveway.
You know,
Yeah.
increase trip ends.
Right. Drive, what'll end up happening, he'll have to, I mean, if this gets approved, they'll have to contact the lister's office to receive numbers for the lots. And basically those numbers will be located, you know, at the curb, but there's no additional curb cut. A driveway can basically have up to 3 houses.
So you wouldn't get any curb cut approval unless it was 4+. Whatever.
If we were going 4+, probably not, just because basically the access would have to be upgraded to a 60-foot right of way and the public.
Yeah.
The a question that I have, and I don't know if it's in the legals or not, but basically, since we have this wetland buffer in the past, I would assume the wetlands people will say, here's the delineation and no sort of maintenance, like lawns, things along those lines can occur beyond, you know, the buffer area. And I would assume that if I go to buy this lot, that's gonna, the deed would say, you know, you're restricted, you know, per this area. The other thing I would mention, previously, the board has issued conditions for buffers being split rail fences. And then we've had 2 projects that they didn't like split rail fences because whether it was visual or just the maintenance. And so they basically amended to a combination of essentially stone and birdhouses. And I think that basically maybe if there were to be a condition, it'd be a condition that that whatever that delineation for the buffer zone was basically an accepted delineation from the wetlands people. And that it could be incorporated, or at least so noted within in the documents.
So there are some beautiful stone walls in that part of the property. I would
Right.
love to be able to just relocate those and use those.
And that's,
Yeah.
Let's coordinate with Tina on that.
yeah, we'll have to talk, and that'll be part of the, when she does kick out her permit,
Right.
the actual final demarcation, because we've done the delineation and she's come out and approved the delineation, so the actual demarcation of the buffer, that
Right.
is what we'll come up with.
So I mean, obviously, if this is to be
When is
approved,
the demarcation done?
the-
He was talking about having the eventual landowner do it, but isn't it done as part of the
I would,
earlier process?
no, when I would go out and when our survey crew's laying out the center line of the shared road, I would also have them set that point, and the agreed upon demarcation would be what happens when they get the wetlands permit through the wetlands office. So what the actual physical markers are that get set out, that would be either the birdhouses or the boulders, but we would give them the points. It would be up for them to decide.
what we could end up doing if this were to be approved, you could potentially condition it that, no zoning permit be issued until the wetlands permit's issued, and that basically the demarcation of the buffer has been put in place. And, there's it meets whatever requirements or, applicable standards that the wetlands department wants. So basically, when he goes to sell lot 3, Andrew drives up and says, "Oh, I love birds. Where are all the birdhouses for?" It's something like that would end up being,
And
and we could have a condition that sort of gets that sort of checks and balances in place if needed.
Is there a timeline on that portion needs to be completed in the wetland buffer disturbance zone for
no,
the wetland permit?
maybe the wetlands permit have a
So they're gonna
sunset.
give you're gonna propose a period, a stretch.
Yeah.
And summer.
Yeah, and I would make a suggestion on the demarcation, when our survey guys go out, and this is a great time to do it. When we go out to set our pins, we could go out and put those points on the ground before anything happens. That way they're memorialized, and then whatever we come up with for the demarcation, those are already there. So I would recommend, and I think Ben would be okay with it if we did stake where those orange dots are when we're setting the pins. That would be an opportune time to do it.
I guess I just want to ask one clarifying question, which is, like I said, there's a lot of really nice stone walls, and eventually I'd like to use that. Would birdhouses be like a temporary sort of marker? And then later, as long as we don't cross that line, you could build a stone wall on that, right?
That's gonna be up to you
That's-
guys.
But I mean, like, as long as we don't go on the other side of that boundary, we
Yeah.
can do whatever you
Yeah.
want. Okay.
Right.
As long as it's a clear boundary.
Yeah.
And there's not quote unquote creep, like the lawns get bigger, the roads get bigger, then.
The wetland people know that, if it's not permanent,
The waiting.
they know that if it's not permanent, it's gonna, the chances for encroachment later on is high.
Yeah.
And how wide is that driveway that's in the yellow
That's 12 with 2 foot shoulders.
all the way up to the second house?
Yes. 12 feet minimum on all the way.
That's all we need right for this.
Yeah, yeah.
And fire department doesn't look at minor subdivision, right? It'd be there.
They traditionally haven't, so.
We did expand the turnaround over on lot 1, the remaining land, so it is possible to go all the way through and turn around
Yep.
a rescue vehicle at that point.
I mean, the standard for the road has got to support a 40,000 pound vehicle, which is the fire truck and things along those lines. That's all kind of standard stuff.
And the radius at the end of the road where it does meet Orr Road, that has been improved as well.
Okay.
Those have been flared out.
Can you zoom out just a little bit overall of the new layout of the fields?
Like that, Jeff?
Yeah, we just had so many lines there. So what are the 3? Someone stand up there and show us what the
Sure.
3 lines.
Yeah. So we're missing the very, very lower corner, but the black lines here are the perimeter boundaries. So it does go up and it does go off the page. You'd have to zoom out a little bit more.
All right.
The black line goes up, hits the Orr Road edge of the right of way, then it comes down to a point where we do have the subdivision boundaries are in red, so essentially all of the road frontage will be with lot 3. Then lot 2 has, is an internal lot, as is lot 1. The tricky part to design this
So
subdivision.
where's the southern end of all of this development?
Oh, right
Southern
here,
end?
comes down to a very, very small point, which is wet.
And then the line goes back up,
The
and then
line
comes
goes,
back up along the
goes
driveway.
right up here, you can see
Yeah,
that,
the other line, and the one to the west.
oh, right here, yep.
And
We
it
actually
goes up.
surveyed that lot too. We did a subdivision on this lot a few years ago. I think we surveyed that one, and we surveyed that one as well.
This is Ben's, isn't it? Is it Ben's? Is that right? It's like, anyway,
Davis, this was Davis. I
Davis,
think
right.
it did sell.
right.
Is there a house or a driveway or anything on that lot?
Yep, there's a house in the back.
Yep.
It's permitted. There was an existing house in the front.
Sure.
That was the Davis subdivision,
You
and
did-
then really nice folks here. I can't remember the name, but. Dennis.
Ben's or Ben's or something like
Yeah.
that.
That was sad. We finished up the subdivision this year.
Yeah.
Fallen ill with cancer, so. I guess that's more of the history. But you can see the perimeter, right here, going right up through. Obviously, there are a lot of lines. There's a lot of pins out there, and then the internal subdivision lines are in red, and that marks out, but.
So do you have any proposed screening between those existing homes and what you're building?
There'll be a limited amount of tree cutting, tree clearing, that won't be allowed, outside of the building envelope, but,
So
so
is that all forested to the south of the driveway then?
it's, I would say it's moderately forested.
Yeah,
It's pretty open in there now. The homes are gonna be able to see each other.
You can see
The
all the
existing
way
homes,
through.
the existing homes will be able to see these homes?
What exists?
The existing homes, they said that lot had been subdivided.
Yeah.
to-
No,
No, the two proposed lots 2 and 3, the residential
They can
homes,
see each other.
they will be able to see each other, and the existing house will certainly be able to look north. It's cleared to a point where you can almost see the lot 2 building.
But I can't see the house, that was built on that new lot behind me. There's this row of trees that blocks them.
Yeah.
Um,
Wasn't a lot of adequate.
And then, so what is this land doing? Is this land sloping? Is it flat? Is that just a flat field, or what is that land doing?
Basically, it slopes northwest into the wetland, and it slopes to the east, so it's kind of like a radial little ridge. It's relatively flat. The slope is maybe 3 to 5% in there. It's a really gentle slope. It's not a lot of relief. The driveways, everything pretty easy to construct based on
But it's not classified as a ridge top.
Is it what?
There's rules about, you can't build something on ridge tops.
Oh, that's not
Yeah,
a ridge.
yeah,
No.
it's not, yeah. No, and there, besides, the staff notes basically listed the overlays that were in play.
Uh-huh.
But all disturbance or development are outside the buffer areas as well as the overlay areas, so they don't really, they don't really come into play.
There's natural resource area to the east there, right?
There's a
Yes.
riparian, there's a
Right.
riparian zone
okay.
that it was kind of an odd shape file from your zoning stuff, so we actually went out and shot the top of the bank, which was the top of the stream, and then offset it 100 feet, because it was actually more conservative the way we did it. When we brought your stuff in to our CAD program, it didn't overlay really well.
I'm just gonna do one thing to give Jeff benefit. So that'll give you an idea. This is Brown's Trace. So here's basically Orr Road. And the project you looked at with JD is down in this area here. So basically there's a, wetland corridor and it goes into a large wetland area here. So,
and that new house isn't on the map.
Yeah, which is
Right
in
about
this
where
area.
your mouse cursor is.
So will these houses be visible from Brown Street?
No,
That's what I love about it.
they really won't be visible from Orr Road either.
Either.
And to the north, if you go back, I think if Chris can scroll over to the northerly boundary of lot 3.
Oh, yeah, we,
If you slide the map to the left. So if you look at here, you can see our proposed limits of clearing, obviously sort of parallel along with the building envelope. Parallel, we have to clear out around the mound. We obviously can't clear within the wetland buffer. But there's still, there's still another 75 feet beyond the mound that's left treed up to the property line, and then some of the stone walls that you see what Ben was talking about up on that north side. So we tried to leave enough of a buffer between all the neighboring properties and minimize how much is cleared to protect everybody from seeing this. So obviously the two homes that are within the subdivision can see each other, but the homes won't be visible from Orr Road. They won't be visible from Brown's Trace Road. It's really pretty minimal with what is proposed to be cleared for the project.
Thank you. More questions from the board?
I just got a comment. So some towns, we don't do it here, and I don't think it always makes sense, but some towns require pinning of building envelopes.
Yeah.
I don't see it necessarily in this case. What I would suggest is an as-built
Okay.
for CO. I mean, that not
you'd recommend a what? I'm sorry.
an as-built as a condition prior to the issuing of CO. I mean, you got. It would.
You want to issue for the CO or the zoning permit?
Prior to the certificate of occupancy.
Right. Okay, okay.
It would give you assurances that it was built within the building envelope. And
Okay,
also just that, with that out there, anybody building is gonna be careful.
No, I agree.
I got one, I just did one in Underhill, and it's as tight as this with everything around it, made me nervous the whole way through it.
Yeah.
And the town's making us do an as-built, we're gonna do one anyway.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, this lot, it's not a 10-acre lot where you can build anywhere in the middle.
Right, and there's a lot of
Far from-
wetlands both sides and also the riparian setback. I mean, so
It's more work for you, but it protects the landowner, you know?
and it's not a bad idea. And again, I can run this by Ben, but a lot of times what we do when we go out to set the pin, so we're there for half a day or 5 hours. Well, let's stake the building envelopes. Let's stake the building envelopes. Couple of things that does benefit Ben, and even a few centerline points on the drive is when he goes to walk people out there to sell these, or his realtor goes out there to walk to sell these. He can walk down and say, oh, there's a centerline stake, there's the building envelope, there's where you can build. So I don't even mind in a case like this, if he wants us to, spend an extra hour out there to actually stake the building envelope.
I stake footings on building and,
Yeah, I do.
You have to do it on a lot of your jobs, right?
We do, yeah.
So if we're going to do that though, I'm just looking at one area, I'll point to here. Like, is this area available for building envelope?
You're in
Is
the,
that the maximum size that could be, or?
so we're butting up against the big orange line is the riparian buffer.
Right.
So, I mean, if you start doing a bunch of goofy lines within a building.
On your plat.
Right, I'm just thinking about if you want to turn a garage and the corner goes a little bit into that area, should you, if we're gonna say, there's a 1 foot corner that's outside of that building envelope, and it's well, there was no reason that it couldn't have been made bigger, but we didn't, and now there's
So now's the time to do it.
that's kind of what I'm wondering, is there any?
There's not a whole lot you can do to make it bigger, but
Or
it's also trying to be a little conservative and not.
Right.
trying to, yeah, I mean,
and totally.
you know how this
understand.
goes, right? If we push it within a foot
Right.
and then we get out
You
there.
got a building,
So-
the building envelope,
So-
you got the house shown 10 feet from the buffer zone, that's just enough room to dig a foundation and then bail
Yeah,
and then cut a tree.
yeah.
And
I mean, the objective of what we had and the suggestion with in a case like this, because nobody predicts. I mean, we can sit here and make octagon building shapes all day long, but, I would move to, if the landowner comes in and wants to amend the building envelope and needs
It's
a
not
woodshed.
now. I see it.
Yeah.
Enough room now, I mean, you know, it's just, you gotta design the house to fit the envelope.
So I look at this, now likelihood, the orientations of the houses, I think are gonna shift about 90 degrees. So basically you got east-west exposure. And you're gonna probably look at the road.
I can see
Right.
it moving, and
Yeah.
there's wiggle room.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
prove that.
Yeah,
You have to stay away from the, you know, the mound and leave room for the tanks and blah, blah, blah.
so the answer to your question, Ben, say you want to put a pool over here. Right? Well, it's outside the building envelope. Wouldn't want to do that. So,
We can change it, it's, you know,
No, I was just wondering, like, if it made sense to make a change, now would be the time to make it, and I just sort of saw that little corner.
I mean, you're capitalizing on almost every square inch you can already.
yeah,
You know, you want a couple more inches, go for it, you know. But
or leave it up to the next buyer, then they have to pay us.
you might find that they don't need any more, you
Yeah,
know?
I have one more clarifying question. You guys talked a lot about those red dots and the wetlands boundary. My understanding is there's no difference between that and the riparian zone. Is that true, or?
it's. It is, well, basically it is, yeah, it is true. The riparian buffer. Is basically is a town overlay for basically part of the natural resource. Overlay in that section of the regulations. So the town has sort of their standards. This, what you're dealing with is basically it's a state wetland.
Gotcha.
And so that basically it's a state review.
Gotcha.
And so, our review, the area you can see basically is a little higher. If you want to contest the riparian buffer, then you would basically do something like a LOMA, which would set the elevation, distances, and this may change a little bit. But the reality is, it's probably not worth the expense.
I was
Yeah.
before asking,
Yeah.
like.
we already
if you
showed
wanted
it,
to-
yeah,
if
let's
you wanted to
let's
plant a
just.
lawn or something, I was under the understanding that like, you can't do that in the riparian zone either. But because we talked so much about that other line, I thought maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, well, I think if you look at this, because you have your building envelope and you're cutting, that basically putting birdhouses and things in this area.
Right.
It's probably not as applicable as basically you've got this edge here. So
Yeah.
I've got a nice big lawnmower that I just love to go on and drive around and, next thing you know, I'm mowing over this area and things along those lines. You get
That
that.
side you're dealing with the state and they can be tough. This side you're dealing with Chris. Maybe it can be tough, I don't.
Yeah, Chris doesn't want to be tough, so Chris doesn't want to be dealt with. Just be what's up here.
Smooth sailing, I like smooth sailing.
Yeah, they have an enforcement officer, we don't.
Yeah.
We all have to let us know.
So that, yeah, hopefully that gives you some clarity.
Any more questions from the board? Anything else you need, Chris?
No, we'll just double check the legals and I guess I would expect to see, findings that, there'll be, delineations on the wetland buffer and then basically there'll be, restrictions, that, we don't get creep into, past the wetland buffer, things along those lines, just so when I buy a lot 3, it's disclosed and I know where the edge is and stuff like that. So, and I think we've covered that pretty well. So,
And we'll now open it to questions from the public. If there are questions, you ask them to the board and we'll get answers and give you back those. So we'll do folks in the room first. Are there any questions from people in the room? Everyone saying no. We'll go to online. Anybody want to raise their hand for a question from the folks online? Okay, I don't see any
So-
questions.
so if Jonathan and Frederic can, in the chat, put your mailing. So if you want to receive, the decisions and things, you can so note and we'll mail it to you. But otherwise, since you haven't really participated, you're probably not considered an interested party. Guess that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We have
you.
45 days to get a response back to you. As good as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So.
So since we're not doing the minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the public meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Put off recording.
stop
Thanks for
sharing.
coming.